How's it going, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Arc. Now, the 2023 draft night happened less than a week ago. Victor Wembanyama went number 1, Brandon Miller went number 2, Scoot Henderson went number 3. It's going to be a very star-studded rookie class of next season, obviously with them guys coming in, you know, a very deep lottery as well. Cam Whitmore went number 20, and then obviously you've got Chet Holmgren, who was drafted number 2 last year, coming in for his rookie year this year. It's going to be a very interesting one to see who wins rookie of the year next year. Will it be the predictable Wembanyama, or will one of the supporting cast, you could potentially say, come in and steal it from him? That's not today's topic of the video though, because when the NBA draft comes around, I like to look back at past drafts. Now, last year I did a couple of videos on past drafts. I did redrafting the NBA draft that happened 10 years ago, and then also redrafting the NBA draft of 2021 at 1 year on. And that's what I'm going to be doing today with the NBA draft from 2022. That's right, I'm going to be taking all 14 lottery picks from last year's 2022 draft, and I'll be redrafting them, in my opinion, on how well they've done, how people expected them to do compared to the reality of how they did actually end up doing, and yeah, whether I think they have actual potential in the league. But I guess before we get into it, make sure you are leaving a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and as always, let me know what you guys want over the off-season. Share it out as well, because I'm going to be trying to get as much content out ahead of the new year. So the first pick of the 2022 NBA draft, the Orlando Magic, they selected Paolo Banchero, and I mean, who else is going to go number 1 in a redraft than the man who received 98 votes, first place for Rookie of the Year, the unanimous first team Rookie of the Year man? Yeah, Paolo Banchero stays number 1 for me. I mean, he's probably the only person, in my opinion, from watching over the last season, everyone's rookie year, he's probably the only person who stands out to me as someone who has superstar potential here in the NBA. He became the 26th rookie to average 20 points per game in his rookie year, the first since Zion Williamson. And he brought the Orlando Magic, a side who a lot of people expected to be tanking for Wembanyama, you know, someone who was going to be in the proper top 4 pick odds again this year. He brought them quite close to a playing spot, and let's be honest, if the Orlando Magic stay as they are, and if Paolo Banchero improves and takes the next step up, doesn't get injured or anything like that, then the Orlando Magic probably should be a playing team next season. And it'll be interesting to see how Paolo Banchero kind of takes advantage of being the lead guy on that team, because let's be honest, if the Orlando Magic want to keep him for the next 10 years, he can be that guy. He can make multiple all-star appearances, and he could potentially bring Orlando to a few deep playoff runs, you could say. So yeah, in my opinion, Paolo Banchero is the true number 1 pick, and I think when you do redrafts in 5 years' time and in 10 years' time, it'll probably still be Paolo Banchero up there. Or will it? Because number 2 was Chet Holmgren, and we haven't really seen much of Chet. Obviously, he was injured throughout his whole rookie season. We'll properly talk about Chet because, in my opinion, I think teams still probably do pick Chet because of the potential that he has, but obviously he doesn't go as high as he did this year at the number 2 pick. Instead, I'm going to put in Walker Kessler, the guy who was drafted number 22 by the Memphis Grizzlies, traded to the Minnesota Timberwolves, and then traded yet again to the Utah Jazz in that Rudy Gobert trade deal. I mean, there's people, obviously, you know, they bag on Rudy Gobert. People like to bag on Rudy Gobert, but there are a lot of people out there who have said that Walker Kessler has had a better year this year than Rudy Gobert, and Rudy Gobert's getting paid like 40 million more than Kessler is, and he's also like 10 years older. So have the Utah Jazz already won the trade deal with the guy that they've got in replace of Rudy Gobert? I mean, Walker Kessler averaged 2.3 blocks over the regular season, which is 4th in the entire NBA, not even in the rookie class. Obviously, he absolutely dominated that stat in the rookie class, but to come 4th in the whole league in terms of blocks across the whole regular season, this guy is going to be one of the best defensive anchors in the next 5-10 years. Like I said in the intro, a lot of what is based off of my redraft is the expectations of people coming into it. Walker Kessler was drafted number 22. Nobody really expected him to be as good as what he was this year, but, you know, he's blown everyone's expectations out of the water, and he's really set kind of a precedent for next year. And with the Utah Jazz bringing in John Collins, are the Jazz going to be looking at maybe trying to push on and, you know, righting the wrongs of last year where they kind of fell out of playoff/playing contention? Obviously, Larry Markkanen's going to be taking that next step, John Collins, and then also Walker Kessler. So could the Utah Jazz be a playing team next year? And if so, will Walker Kessler be one of the main guys in there? In my opinion, he's the second best player in this draft class, though, after the first year. Number 3 went to the Houston Rockets, and they drafted Jabari Smith Jr. And I like Jabari Smith Jr.'s game. However, I feel after the first season, you know, he didn't make all rookie first team, so maybe he doesn't deserve to be going in the top 3. Instead, I'm bringing in Bennedict Mathurin. Now, a lot of people may think that this is a little bit too high. Maybe someone like Jalen Williams, who was almost unanimous first team rookie, could probably go top 3. But I'm not going to lie, Bennedict Mathurin, a lot of people forget at the start of the season, this guy was having legitimate 6th man of the year shouts, and he was the rookie of the year before Paolo Banchero came back about 10 games in from his injury. Like I said, he did drop off a little bit towards the middle and towards the back end of the season, but he still averaged 16.7 points per game off of the bench. Now, obviously, he was averaging around about 24-25 minutes per game, so not exactly proper bench minutes, and he was the main guy off of the bench, but the Indiana Pacers, they have a stud in Bennedict Mathurin, in my opinion, and someone who, at the moment, is top 3 in the NBA in terms of his rookie class. Number 4, Keegan Murray, chosen by Sacramento, who had an absolutely amazing season last year. And Keegan Murray was one of the, not the main pieces towards it, but he was definitely a contributing factor to the Kings finishing 3rd in the West. And in my opinion, he goes number 4. Again, just like in real life, I think if you did a redraft, Keegan Murray still goes number 4. Like I said, it is hard to judge because obviously, compared to every single other player really in this list, except one more, and we'll get to him maybe towards the back end, Keegan Murray's been brought into a team that has been amazing this season. Again, not many people expected it, but Keegan Murray, I feel like if you put him in the position that maybe Paolo Banchero or Bennedict Mathurin is in, does Keegan Murray still average as many points as Mathurin and Banchero did? You know, Keegan Murray did only average 12 points per game, but he wasn't the main option like Paolo was, or like Mathurin was off of the bench. So, I mean, when you look at it from the base value, you know, he's only averaged 12 points per game, and I'm going to be talking about a few people later on that's averaged more points per game over the NBA season, but to average that 12 points per game while shooting 40% from 3 as a power forward, and he had that 23-point game in the playoffs in Game 2 against the Golden State Warriors. He's shown that he can do it on a team that wins, and he can also do it in the playoffs as well, and I feel like that has a lot more weight than, you know, stat padding in the regular season. I'm not saying that everyone on this list is stat padding, but rookies usually get drafted to teams that don't do as well. Keegan Murray's a bit of a rare exception to that. So in my opinion, Keegan Murray does go 4th, and you know, he ended up in the first team all rookie, so I feel like he does deserve to at least be in that top 5, and in my opinion, to keep his position. And then going number 5, so if you were to do the whole all NBA first team rookie, these top 5 are exactly who I'd want, and this is where Jalen Williams comes in. Jaden Ivey was the man who was drafted number 5 by the Detroit Pistons, and we'll talk about him in just a little bit, really, because he still had a very solid season. But Jalen Williams, when you talk about, you know, someone who has the potential and someone who was a little bit of a sleeper pick in this year's NBA draft, Jalen Williams is that guy. Now, he was still drafted in the lottery. He was drafted number 12, but you know, to jump up 7 positions, in my opinion, and in a lot of other people's, you know, redrafts, he's probably going 3rd or maybe even 4th. And let's be honest, he did have an amazing season. Averaged 14 points per game, shooting over 50% from the field. And yeah, he does have upside, but in my opinion, the players that I've drafted ahead of him, you know, Bennedict Mathurin, Keegan Murray, Walker Kessler, they have a little bit more upside than Williams does. Does Jalen Williams have the exact same role next season? It'll be interesting to see. Number 6 was initially Bennedict Mathurin. We've talked about Bennedict Mathurin already. I've already redrafted him number 3. In his place is the person who was actually drafted number 3 in Jabari Smith Jr. Like I said before, I really like Jabari Smith Jr.'s game, but when you're drafted as someone who is more defensive minded than you know, someone who's gonna get all the points, yeah, it's tough to really be drafted in the top 3 really, because in a redraft, because you're obviously going to have people that take the mantle and average so many more points. But Jabari Smith Jr., I respect what he's done this year on the defensive end. It's the grit and determination that he's shown. You know, he's not scared to play defense on teams' best players like Giannis Antetokounmpo he's had to defend, and he's not been that bad against them kind of players. And he's still averaged 12.8 points per game as well as 7 rebounds. So, you know, he does have a lot of upside, but after 1 year, I don't see him as a top 3 pick. You know, like I said, a lot of people might look at his box score and think, you know, maybe he should be going even lower than number 6 compared to a few of the people that I'm going to be talking about later on. But I think what he does doesn't get picked up on the box score that much, and that definitely contributes a lot to how good a player is. You know, he's not going to be a person who averages 20 points per game a season, but he's going to be someone that teams are going to look at as valuable to winning, because he does provide that grit and determination on defense that a lot of other people in the NBA don't, let alone someone who's just coming off of their rookie season. So Jabari Smith, in my opinion, goes at number 6. As we move on to number 7, halfway through the lottery, and Shaedon Sharpe was the initial number 7 pick by the Portland Trailblazers. Now, in my opinion, Shaedon Sharpe does drop. There's a lot of upside. You know, he's 19 years old, is Sharpe, and he's been playing on a team where he's had to back up Damian Lillard and Anthony Simons. Now, he's probably going to have to do the same next season with the Blazers drafting Scoot Henderson, but he's a very solid role player. In my opinion, not worthy of a top 7 pick in an NBA draft. Instead, this is where the regular number 5 pick, Jaden Ivey, his time to shine. Now, Jaden Ivey was a solid scorer. He averaged around about 16 points per game over the season, but obviously he was one of the main point guards in the Detroit Pistons side when Cade Cunningham went down injured quite early on in the season. He's a decent defender too. You know, his impact was easily shown when he was on the court defensively. He's got a lot of raw talent though. You know, there's potential to be explored there, but he still isn't absolutely amazing. Averaged 3.2 turnovers, which obviously isn't great for your primary ball handler. Next season is going to be more of an off guard when Cade Cunningham actually properly comes back. He's probably going to average less points, but he's definitely going to be shooting it a lot more efficiently, in my opinion. He's someone who has the potential. In 10 years, if you're doing a redraft of this draft class, he has the potential to be a top 3 pick, but he's probably more one of the slow burners in this draft class, in my opinion. Expect another solid year for him next year, though, especially with Cade Cunningham alongside him. The number 8 pick initially was Dyson Daniels, picked by the New Orleans Pelicans, and let's be honest, the Pelicans didn't really utilize him as much as you'd expect a number 8 pick to be used. Daniels only averaged 17 minutes per game and averaged less than 4 points per game, so he falls out of the lottery altogether, in my opinion. Jeremy Sochan, he bumps up 1. He was picked number 9 initially. I've got him as number 8 in this redraft. It's been a decent first year for Dennis Rodman's kind of regen. 11 points per game, 5 rebounds per game. You know, he's catching the headlines with the way he does his hair, the way he shoots free throws, the fact that he's caught a few bodies. Probably one of the best posterizers this year was probably from Jeremy Sochan. And I think I do like this guy. He has a lot of upside, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how he pairs with Victor Wembanyama in the front court next season. And you know, like I said, there is upside with Sochan. Like, he dropped a 30-point game, and to do that as a rookie is pretty decent. The Spurs have a lot of good young talent on their hands. They'll probably still be a lottery team maybe next year. I don't know how much of an impact Wembanyama will have on the team, but expect an up year from Sochan next season. Like I said, number 9 initially was Jeremy Sochan, and this is where I bring in Chet Holmgren. Despite never playing an NBA game, I still feel like he has the upside that warrants a place in the lottery. And like I said in the intro, I think he could potentially rival Wembanyama for Rookie of the Year this year. You know, the Thunder are going to be a great team next season. Obviously, got in the play-in this year, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is probably going to get better as well, despite having probably an MVP level year last year. And Chet being there, I think, is going to make him even better. The confidence that this guy oozed on draft night, you know, people were asking him, you know, who the best player in the NBA is, and he said, you've got a new one and he's looking right at you. That's amazing confidence, and whether he can properly back it up, you know, especially coming off of a year-long injury, is going to be interesting to see. But, you know, Joel Embiid missed a few seasons at the start of his career, and look at where he is now. He's just won the MVP of the league. Not saying that Chet Holmgren is going to be the MVP of the league next year, but I think he's going to probably come in and show that he is still worthy of a lottery pick. And, you know, if you're doing a redraft in maybe even 3 years' time, probably still worthy of that number 2 pick, which he was initially drafted by. Moving into the 10th pick, and the Washington Wizards, they selected Johnny Davis. Now, he only played 28 games across his rookie year, which is the lowest out of anyone in the lottery. So obviously he's probably not going to be a lottery pick in a redraft 1 year on. Now, this is where Shaedon Sharpe comes in. And I talked a little bit about Sharpe when I was initially discussing him when he was initially drafted. Like I said, he played backup throughout the whole season. He's probably going to play backup again next year, and if I'm honest, as long as he's on the Portland Trailblazers, he's probably going to be playing backup for the most of his career, because Scoot Henderson and Anthony Simons are going to have them guard spots kind of locked down. But that doesn't mean that Shaedon Sharpe isn't going to improve as a role player, get more minutes, and ultimately have more of an impact on the side. You know, he brought energy whenever he stepped on the court, which is exactly what you need out of a 19-year-old rookie. And he still averaged just under 10 points a game as well. So, you know, plenty of upside to Shaedon Sharpe. But after 1 year, you know, like I said, a lot of these players that have been drafted ahead of him have taken the mantle and have been kind of one of the main guys, whether it's off the bench or actually properly starting. Shaedon Sharpe isn't really there yet, but there's potential for him in a few years to kind of be one of the more elite role players off the bench in the NBA. Number 11, the OKC Thunder selected Ousmane Dieng. Now, he only played 39 times across the whole season, averaged less than 5 points per game. So again, in my opinion, he does fall out of the lottery. And in his place comes AJ Griffin, someone who wasn't picked in the lottery initially. He was picked number 16, just shy outside of that by the Atlanta Hawks. And could you say that AJ Griffin is the most clutch player in this NBA draft class? I don't know. You know, he's become the first person to hit 2 game winners as a rookie since Tony Kukoc in 1994. That's literally almost 30 years. So, you know, to be entrusted with taking them final shots, especially when you've got Trae Young on your team and DeJounte Murray, it definitely shows a lot that, you know, the Atlanta Hawks, they do believe in someone like AJ Griffin. And despite him coming off the bench for the most part of the season, he still averaged 8.9 points per game. And he's kind of shown that he does have a role to play in this Atlanta Hawks, you know, team. He can play 2, 3, and 4. You know, he's very versatile. So expect him to average a little bit more than the 19.5 minutes per game he got this year next season. And expect him to take a little bit of a leap. Not an astronomically sized one, but one that's going to mean that he has a bigger impact on the team. And, you know, whether the Hawks go through and win more games than they did last year. Obviously, they've gotten rid of someone like John Collins now. Whether AJ Griffin slots into that 4 as an undersized power forward is to be seen, but expect him to have more of an impact next year because he's still a very solid player. Like I said, very clutch performer. Number 12 was Jalen Williams. Like I said, you know, obviously I've picked him number 5 in a redraft in his position. And forgive me if this is a bit of recency bias, but out of all of the NBA rookies in the 2022 draft class, who is an NBA champion? The correct answer is Christian Braun. He's moved up from 21 in the regular draft in my redraft, and like I said, it's potential recency bias because if you look at his stats, his box score stats across the season, like he didn't take many shots, didn't average many points per game, but the role that he had on one of the best teams in the NBA is, you know, you can't ignore it. For a rookie to come in to the side who were the best team out west, the second best record in the NBA, and then to come through and provide decent roles off of the bench in the NBA Finals nonetheless, it's definitely something that can't be ignored. He has the marks of a very quality role player that teams would like to bring in to provide, you know, energy off the bench and provide just a winning factor. Like Christian Braun has won championships in his last 3 seasons now, even before heading into the NBA. You know, he's very, very reliable, played a lot of games across the regular season, so barely got any DMP coaches' decisions. You know, he's just someone that loads of teams would love to have, in my opinion, off of the bench. Whether stats-wise, obviously there's better players, you know, that are going to average more points per game in his draft class, but I feel like 1 year on, he's an NBA champion. Nobody else in this draft class can say it, and in my opinion, he does deserve a place in the lottery, albeit at number 12. Number 13 initially was Jalen Duren, and I do like Jalen Duren, and in my opinion, Jalen Duren stays at the number 13 position. A very solid center in Detroit. You know, he's going to have a very solid second season. A double-double threat, you know, whenever he steps onto the court, and he'll just do his job. And, you know, there's a clear upside for him as well. I think he could be someone that definitely could average double-doubles throughout his whole career. You know, when it's all said and done in about 10 years' time, you could be looking at Jalen Duren as a guy who averages a double-double across his career, shooting about 60% from the field. You know, he's not going to have amazing shooting nights, you know, where he takes so many shots and averages so many points, but he's just someone that teams just like to bring in on a lower contract and just do a job down low in the paint, you know, the dirty work that not many people like to do, and to see that from a rookie is very promising. So in my opinion, Jalen Duren, he stays at number 13. And then finally, the number 14, the final pick in the draft lottery, went to Ochai Agbaji. I've definitely butchered that, but I think that's how you pronounce it. Now, he had a solid season in Utah, but nothing too special. Averaged around about 8 points per game in 59 games out in Utah. But again, didn't do anything too special to grab the headlines. In his place comes someone who did do something to grab the headlines, and it could be a bit of a left field pick. You know, Tari Eason, who ended up in the second team all rookie, you know, he hasn't been featured yet. Is it going to be him, or is it going to be someone else? Now, like I said at the start of the video, I bring in players who nobody expected to do so well, and you know, I like to shine the light on kind of second round picks. My 2021 redraft had Ayo Dosunmu, Jose Alvarado, and Herb Jones in it. You know, 2 of them were second round picks, one of them wasn't even drafted at all. So I do like to shine the light on some people who were underdogs kind of coming in, and Andrew Nembhard was probably one of the biggest ones in there. Coming in at the age of 23, so someone who doesn't have the biggest upside. He has slotted in to the Indiana Pacers starting lineup, and not really looked too much out of place, if I'm honest with you, next to Tyrese Halliburton. And you know, not many rookies can say that they've come in and hit a game winner in their rookie season against the Lakers in the Staples Center. Not many rookies can say that. Andrew Nembhard can. He averaged around about 9.5 points per game, started over 60 games for the Pacers. And like I said, not as much upside as someone like Tari Eason might have, but I'm going to put him in there because, like I said, I like to kind of shine the light on people who were picked in the second rounds. So someone who was picked first in the NBA's second round of the draft, 31st pick overall, I think he deserves to be in the lottery. Whether you think so, let me know in the comments. Like I said, I know it might be a bit more of a left field pick, but I love an underdog story, and Andrew Nembhard is definitely one of those. And with the 14th pick, that concludes my redraft 1 year on of the 2022 NBA draft class. Let me know what you guys think about my picks. Do you disagree with some of them? Do you agree with some of them? Do you think Chet Holmgren deserves to still be in the lottery 1 year on? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Like the video, subscribe, share it out, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.